everybody? What up, everybody? Let's talk about it. It's April Dawn. What up, everybody? It's April Dawn. What up, everybody? It's April Dawn. Let's talk about it. What up, everybody? It's April Dawn. Let's talk about it. This is Live, Work, Pose, Season 3, Episode 4. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. Even though I enjoyed this episode, I thought it was a great episode and a great showcase for Billy Porter. I also thought it leaned a little heavy into the melodramatic fairy tale aspect. If you just want to watch the show and enjoy it for being, just this fanciful ass fairy tale that's not really realistic, then it was a great show for you. And it was a great show for me too, but I felt like some of the storylines or some of the things that happened in the episode weren't exactly realistic and, made sense. But like I said, overall, I thought it was a good vehicle for Billy Porter to win his Emmy. Okay, I was glad that we got a good Pray Tell backstory and we got to know some of the traumas and some of the, things behind his character that make him who he is. Glad that we got to see some of Pray Tell's backstory, a little bit about him, everything that's going on with him and, his character, and they kind of developed that for us. But like I said, it was broad strokes. Don't want to waste any time. Let's go ahead and get into it. So we start off this episode with Pray Tell. He's sleeping in the bed and he keeps waking up over and over again because he's having these terrible night sweats. He's had to change his sheets 3 times in the same night because of night sweats. And then once he puts on his robe and kind of walks around, the last time he realizes that he feels a lymph node on his shoulder. It's like a lump on his shoulder. So we see him at the doctor's office with Judy and Blanca the next day, and she basically says that it looks like it's lymphoma, some type of lymphoma, but they have to wait till they get the biopsy back from the doctor. Doctor comes in the room and promptly tells him that it is lymphoma, AIDS-related lymphoma. So basically, they can't treat him. They would be able to give him chemo and everything like that, but that's going to kill him in the process. There's nothing that they can really do about the cancer that has formed because of his lowered immune system because of the AIDS. It has progressed from HIV to AIDS. He says, well, how much time do I have? And he says, well, you have about 6 months to live. Now, Nurse Judy is rejecting this. She's like, hell no, bitch. I done had patients who done had the same stuff, okay, and they recovered and lived a beautiful life. And they're kind of going back and forth about things, and he's just sitting there kind of dazing off into space. And they're like, what's going on? And he says, listen, I knew I was living on borrowed time, but now I don't know. Like, I know I'm living on borrowed time. And he needs to take this time to tell the people that he loves them, and he needs to take this time to forgive some people. So there's some things that he needs to do. Then we hear a lonely teardrops. Hey, something inside. I don't know the words to the song, y'all, but he's going back to Pittsburgh. We all know that's where Billy Porter is from. He's from Pittsburgh. And so we see him riding the Greyhound bus, getting off on the Greyhound. He takes a cab and he pulls up in front of his mother's house in a very nice neighborhood, I might add. She seems to be very happy to see him. She is I forgot the lady's name, but she played a character named Martha. I can't remember her name, but she's a staple in the black acting community. I love to see her. I love to see Jack Kay, and I love to see Janet Hubert all together. That was a great casting choice. I just loved it. So she's making catfish for lunch, fried catfish, a delicacy in which I love and can't partake in right now. But I love me some fried catfish. So she making some, and Auntie Jack Kay and Auntie Aunt Viv is coming over. I don't know their names, y'all. So I'm just, we just going off of who we know them to be in the past, okay? So they all coming over just like they usually do. So they eat lunch and they ask him about his life in New York and how's everything going. And he was like, it's fun, it's great. And then he was like, well, it's challenging. That's why I'm here. And they like, child, listen, we ain't got no money. Listen, all I got is $50 for you. That's all I got. And he says, no, he's not here to talk with them about money. He's here to talk with them about his health. And so they're like, what's wrong with you, child? You got sickle cell, asthma? What's going on? Like, what's going on? He just comes straight on out and tells him that he has AIDS, to which his mother is very upset about this. She gets up. She just walks out the room. She don't have nothing to say. Immediately, Auntie Latrice starts praying, and Pray Tell tells her he doesn't need her to pray. He needs her love, okay? And then we see that his cousin, Jackie, I think this is his cousin, not his auntie. She's like, I'm going to be there with you to the end. She's the understanding cousin, I'm assuming. And then we have Latrice, who is the hard, church-going auntie. And she starts to pray, and then auntie, and then cousin come at her like, you need to cut that out because when I got divorced, you let them people turn their back on me at the church. You didn't defend me down to the church. And she was like, you know, I love you, you know, love the sin, or love the sinner, hate the sin. They say this a lot in church, right? She tells him, you was made in the image of God. You know what I'm saying? This, everything you've done has been a choice to you. And he says, this was a choice. So it was a choice for me to get beat up ever since I was a little kid. Every day it was a choice for people to call me the F word. Like, so that was a choice. Cousin Jackie gets up and gives him a hug and tell him she's going to be there with him till the end. And Aunt Latrice is like, I'll be there for you too. Even I still love you and I never stop loving you, even if we don't see eye to eye. And then she gets her purse because she got to go to the church and get the choir together. She was like, well, why don't you come with me? I think you would be interested in who the new pastor is. And he was like, what you mean? Who is the pastor? And she was like, Vernon Jackson. He was like, I know you fucking lying. Okay, like that Vernon Jackson? She was like, yes, you'd be surprised. God heals and God forgives. So we get to the church and we get a beautiful duet from Lettucey and B. Slade. If you don't know who Lettucey is or you don't know who B. Slade is, baby, you better Google them because they somebody to be, okay? She was singing my tribute to God be the glory. To God be the glory. To God be the glory. Woo! My favorite part of that whole song is the part she sang, just let me live my life. Let it be pleasing, Lord, to thee. And if I gain any praise, let it go to Calvary. You better sing, Lettucey. And then B. Slade started singing, and baby, it was just, I want to throw my shoe at the TV, but I paid too much for it. We see that Pray Tell is enjoying this beautiful presentation, and he's getting moved in the spirit, and Vernon slide in right there behind him in the seat. So after it's over with, he notices that Vernon is behind him, and they're like, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? It's been 25 years, and you know, you could kind of see the little sparkle in each of them's eye. Okay, I saw it. I don't know about y'all. I saw it, though. He tells him that he's married with 3 kids now. He was like, who did you convince? You, Tasha, Mary, Clara, Bernice, who you convinced to marry you? And he was like, Ebony. Ebony? Apparently Ebony was his best friend when they was in high school, and so now Vernon is married to her and they have 3 kids together. He was like, you know that Ebony was my best friend, right? You know I told her everything that we did between us. And he was like, I know, I you know, I'm not ashamed of what we had between us. I loved you. He said that Ebony is his home. With him, you know, he's reconciled and he's resolved those issues that he had. And, you know, like I said, she's his home, and they made a decision to give his life over to Christ, and yada, yada, yada. Okay. So basically he's just suppressing how he is and, you know, his truth or whatever. He said, I wanted to go with you when you asked me to go with you, but, you know, I couldn't do that. You was asking me to step away from the church, and that's just something I couldn't do. And Pray Tell was like, I've seen hundreds of kids leave this church, leave this town, leave different towns because the church threw them away. You know, that's what this church did. He said, you know, that if you just get on your knees and pray, he was like, I've gotten on my knees plenty of times, and I've gotten plenty of blessings from me. And I was like, whoo, child, Lord, y'all having this conversation all up in the sanctuary. Y'all couldn't go to the office, baby, but okay. He says, do you believe in salvation? And he says, it's too late for me to be saved. I'm dying. Vernon asked him to come over to Ebony's house, him and Ebony's house, for dinner that night. And he says, this is a terrible idea. Like, I don't know why you asked me to do this. Like, why would you ask me to do this, sir? He starts to quote scriptures towards him, different scriptures, and Pray Tell is annoyed, and he rolls his eyes and he walks out the door. When Pray Tell gets home and his mother is sitting in the foyer and she's reading the Bible, he tries to talk to her and says, Mama, you have to say something. You know, I'm glad you came out of your room. And she was like, there's nothing to talk about it. I knew that you were going to get that disease when you told me that you were gay. And he tells her, well, listen, I'm going to eat with Vernon and his wife tonight. You know, I'm going to dinner. She was like, don't you go down there and start no trouble. It's interesting to me how they blame Pray Tell for a lot of other people, like preying upon him for Vernon, that whole situation with Vernon, like it's always pray tell, like don't go down there and start no trouble, don't go down there and tempt these people or whatever, when pray tell ain't really doing nothing but just visiting his people and minding his business, right? So she tell him don't go down there and make no trouble with that family tonight. Vernon has been good for the community. He's been good to her when she was in her dark times, some of the darkest times. And he's like, what are you talking about? She was like, the times when I was worried about you, when I didn't know what was going on with you in that city, you know, when I didn't know anything about what was going on. And she says, I care about your soul. And he was like, girl, if you cared about my soul, good mother, okay, you wouldn't have let that man do what he did to me. Speaking about her husband, I didn't know what was going on with him. You know, I didn't know. He says, you knew because I told you everything that was going on. And then she kind of admits that, you know, I'm sorry that my husband died so young, but you needed a father figure. He said, no, you needed a man so that the church would not judge you. Basically, you can keep up appearances for the church. And well, after you told me, didn't he stop? And he was like, yeah, he stopped after I got old enough to push him off of me. She said, what was I supposed to do? Ernest wasn't perfect, but he was a provider. And basically, so you just need to let this go. It's been over 20 years since this has happened. You need to move on. I said, wow, how do you just tell your child you just need to move on from him being molested by your husband while you just turn the blind eye to it? I was like, wow, the hypocrisy is amazing. And then sit up here and tell this man he wasn't getting his blessings and all that stuff, which we'll find out later on in the episode, or condemn him from being a gay man, and you out here like allowing somebody to molest your child. Like, I could not believe the gall, bitch, the unmitigated gall, the audacity. When he tells her to let it go, it's interesting how his reaction was. He just said, okay, and he walked upstairs. It's interesting how, you know, pray tell is so loud and out and proud, and you know, and then when his mother chastises him and tells him to let something go, was reminding me of Precious a little bit. You know, when she was hollering at the girl at the top of the stairs, oh bitch,
you think you got it going on.
It's like when your mama get with you, it's not too many people that's going to raise up on their mama, especially in that environment that he grew up in, which is heavy church, okay? This is for heavy church people. They didn't imply that he was Kojic or Baptist or something like that, but you know it's one of them denominations where they are serious about the Lord, baby. They don't play no games, baby. Then we see a flashback of Pray Tell as a young man singing in the church and leading the choir. Like, the boy who played him had a fantastic voice. He was singing, oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. When Jesus washed, when Jesus washed, when Jesus washed, when Jesus washed, he washed my sins away. I was like, sing, boy. That boy was singing down, okay, to the church. And then, you know, when he stopped singing, him and Vernon are talking to each other and they looking all starry-eyed, and you my favorite singer, and let's walk home together, and let's pick up this from the pews. And oh, it was just cute as can be, honey. And they was kissing all up in the church sanctuary, and Auntie Latrice was like, prayerful. I know you ain't getting on nothing up in the church house. Listen, they bold. They was doing it in the middle of the church house. I think this is to let us know that everybody knew that Pray Tell had a little, you know, sugar in his tank. Oh, and just so you guys know that Kurt Carr, Houston's own Kurt Carr, did all the music for this episode, and baby, we could tell because them arrangements was on point and they was high as hell. You know, Kirk liked to have his singers up singing on the ceiling, his soprano singing on Jesus' lap. Now we're at the dinner with Vernon and Ebony, and Vernon gets called out pretty quickly because he has to go check on a woman that's about to pass away, Miss Williams. So as he leaves, he's like, are you gonna be here when I get back? I was like, sir, you are doing the most in front of your wife. Like, sir, this is too much. Him and Ebony go to wash the dishes, and you know, they're talking about old times. She used to be the head chili. She used to be that bitch. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Real Housewives of Atlanta. That bitch. I was that bitch, Yesenia. That bitch. Okay? She's statuesque. She's a beautiful woman. And you can tell she probably was that bitch in high school. You know? So they have a little moment. They reminisce. And then she sits down and they have the weirdest scene. I just thought this was the weirdest scene to me. Okay? She basically tells him, listen, I understand that you and him had a thing back in the day, you know, but, you know, I believe in marriage and I marry him. He's a good man. He's good for the community. You know what I'm saying? He has a vision. I believe in him. X, Y, and Z. And, you know, Pray Tell is like, you know, girl, your marriage is built on sinking sand. This is not it. Okay, girl, he is gay, baby. He likes men. It's not nothing you can do about that. She goes on to tell him that, you know, suffering is a part of being a Christian is suffering, right? And she said the crucifixion was painful, and that was to show her that life is violent, life is going to test you, life is rough. Now, don't get me wrong, I feel like she had a point in some respects. Life is not sugar and sweet, you know, it's going to be some troubles and trials and tribulations, but your whole life should not be suffering, sis. And he looking at her like, your whole life should not be suffering. Why are you with a man who really don't want you like that? She says, well, you notice there's a gap between my last one and the baby because my husband would not lay with me for 5 years. I was like, this is not going where I'm thinking it's going, okay? And so it went all the way there. He was like, are you trying to ask me how to pleasure your husband? Like, is that what you about to ask me? And she was like, just help me, you know, just help me. I know that you can help. And I was like, this is so unrealistic. Like, I don't feel like this conversation would happen. I absolutely think the Vernon Pray Tell situation absolutely happens all the time. That seems like something that's pretty common, right? But the whole thing where I'm going to sit down with you and, you know, explain to you why I married this man and then ask you to give me some sex tips, like, I was just like, okay, you know, all right. So the baby started crying and he gets out of that conversation. So later on in the night, Vernon comes back home from Miss Williams and Pray Tell is still hanging around, standing on the porch smoking a cigarette. So he like, let's take a walk to the park. And when he said, let's take a walk to the park, I was like, baby, it's about to go down. Something about to go down. And then we segue into another strange and weird conversation. So they walk into the park. During this walk, Vernon starts to confess his love for Pray Tell and tell him that he was his first love and tell him that, you know, he's reawakened something in him by seeing him again. And, you know, he wants to be with him and he's willing to leave his entire family, okay? His entire family to be with Pray Tell, even though Pray Tell has at the most 6 months to live. And Pray was like, please, Lord, please get this man, okay? Like, he about to destroy his whole family. No. He's like, this is crazy. You know, we can't rewrite our story. You can't try to rewrite your story. He was like, well, I was there at the beginning. You know, I'll be there at the end. And I was just like, this is completely ridiculous and unrealistic. I'm not saying the man would never leave his wife for Pray Tell, but at the same time, not after one day. Not after one day, baby. It would have to be an accumulated amount of time. I mean, he did it in the end, but you know, not after one day. You just ready to just throw your 3 kids and your wife to the wayside to go move to New York to be with this man for 6 months. Maybe a 6 months. Okay. We're going to roll with it. It was a little fairy tale-ish. They kiss. He tells them he's going to be at the bus on Sunday and, you know, at 5 o'clock. So meet him up there if he won't go down, you know, and leave his whole damn family. And I was like, Pray Tell, did you really come in here and do a Portia? Okay. Did you really? You was on your Portia shit because you really came all the way down here to take this lady man. Don't do that. Okay. I was like, Pray Tell, don't do that. And I kind of like that didn't like that they did that with his character. So I don't know what y'all think about that whole situation. When he gets home, his mom is up late. She watching TV. She said it's her little, you know, binge thing. It's her little secret, what she likes to indulge in. And he goes on to talk about, oh my gosh, y'all got all these secrets. You know, everybody in this town think they got secrets, but everybody know what everybody else is doing. This crazy, right? And she was like, you know, because peace is better than the truth. And he was like, no, the lies is what keep y'all alive. It's what keep the fire burning inside this little bitty ass town, child. And then he tells her, you know, I mean, then she's like, listen, did you come here for that? Did you come here to cuss your mama out? But this is what you came here for? And he was like, no, you the one who cursed me. You told me that I wouldn't be blessed, that I wouldn't receive my blessings, and you kicked me out. You shunned me. You know, that you made me. He said, I came here to make it right, but you have to admit your faults. You have to admit what you did wrong. And she does. She admits her faults. She admits that she was wrong. She says that I knew that there was nothing wrong with my beautiful child, and I just want you to forgive me. So they have a moment right there. Like I said, it was kind of melodramatic, but it was a good moment. You know, they hug each other. They embrace each other. He forgives her. And then she starts talking about his God. Does he believe in God? And he says, not like the God you believe in, like the big man in the sky, in the heavens. She was like, well, what about your God? What does he do? And he was like, he's kind and he's loving. And she was like, wow, my God is a lot like that God too. And they kind of hug each other and they have this beautiful moment together. Then she asks him to go to church with her. So enter the church the next morning. They're giving a good welcome into the house of the Lord. Okay, hallelujah. And they come on in. She got her blue church suit on. We see cousin Jackie there, and we see Auntie Latrice there leading the choir. And Latrice says, "He said, have an old friend in the church. Brother Prayerful is here today, and he's going to bless us with a selection." Y'all, when I saw this, I was like, this is dead. I ain't gonna cuss because we talking about the Lord. But this is dead what they be doing to me when I go back home, y'all. If I go back home, sometimes I just be wanting to go to church and just sit down. I'm not prepared. I ain't thought about no song. The keyboard player can't really play like that. You know what I'm saying? So you be like, yeah, what am I going to sing? But they put you on the spot. And anybody who done been to a black church who could sing, who done left and came back, baby, they going to ask you to sing a selection. So he went up there and he sang down. Woo! He sang the church house down, honey. I wanted to run. I ain't gonna lie, I was hollering and shouting like I was in church. I ain't been to church in a long, long time, okay? Because we in a panini. But baby, I hollered, okay? He sang, "Give us this day our daily bread. You said you would supply all my needs according to your riches. I have but to ask, and I shall receive." Woo! My God. "To go from here and spread his love, he gave to me to show someone who's lost and help them find their way, the way to truth and faith, so they can be free like me." Woo! Lord, that's the song right there. The old saints go up for it, baby. He sang it down. Baby, he gave you extension. He was in the spirit. You can't tell me they wasn't hollering on the set. You can't tell me they wasn't. Okay? Nobody ain't gonna tell me them people wasn't hollering about to fall out on that set. Period. So after that, he goes to lunch with cousin Jackie, and he goes and they talk, and she kind of like, trying to get her forgiveness from him too, because she knew what was going on with him, but she didn't say anything. She didn't protect him like she felt like maybe she could have. And so he says, "Girl, it's okay. I forgive you. I forgive you. It's okay." And so then she tells him, "I want you to have everything you want. I want you to get everything you need. But these people at the hospital, the law, they're not going to let you make these decisions for you because they're not your blood." So she gives him some power of attorney paperwork. And he signs the paperwork, and she asks him, "What do you want, when you die?" And he says, "I want to die peacefully at home, and then I want to be cremated, and then I want y'all to put a little piece of me in a locket for everybody." And then he was like, "Wait a minute, it's one bitch named Electra that thinks she gonna deserve a locket, but don't give her ass no locket, okay? Because the best thing about dying is I ain't got to hear her shit no more." Now, I ain't gonna lie, that made me upset, because as much as him and Electra argue, they in the same house. They love each other. I thought they had a love for each other that they just never ever speak of ever. You know what I'm saying? But why she can't get no piece of you? Pray tell, don't do her like that. And so they kind of laugh about it and they move on. Then we see him waiting for his bus to go back to New York City, and we see a car pull up around the corner like it's gonna be Vernon. He ready to leave the family, but baby, we know that is not about to happen. That man is not about to leave his wife and his 3 kids. And I'm not gonna say, okay, I think it's crazy. I don't like when people don't live in their truth. I'm just going to be honest with you. But if you made a decision and you made this bed, you need to lay in it, because them kids don't deserve for you to just hop up and leave and abandon them. If you're going to leave the right way. Don't just abandon your family. I think that's messed up. So I'm glad he didn't meet him at the bus stop. And Pray Tell probably was a little glad too. Like, I got my hopes up for 1 second, but nah, I knew that it wasn't going to happen. So he gets on the bus and he hops on the bus and he goes back to New York City. So when he gets to New York, we see him sharing a fellowship with his real family, his true family, right? Which is Electra, Blanca, and all the kids. And he made some soup or something, some dinner for them. And baby, when I tell you he prayed at that table, honey, he prayed. He prayed from the depths of his soul. I was like, you better do this. And then they sat down and they ate their food, and it was a beautiful moment. And the show goes off. So, like I said, overall, I thought it was a great episode. I thought it had a lot of good moments in it. I also thought it was a little dramatic and unrealistic, but I know that they only have 7 episodes, so they're about to broad stroke us through about 3-4 decades, okay? So I appreciated getting the backstory on Pray Tell and learning about him. And as always, we love to see Billy Porter sing. He's an amazing singer. The singing, the music was everything on this episode. It was also wonderful to see Jackie Harry and Janet Hubert. I'm so glad that she's working, because that lady can act. Okay, I don't care what nobody say. That lady made me believe she was a staunchy old auntie, and I was here for her. Okay, I loved her. I loved Auntie Latrice, because Auntie Latrice was really in character. She was giving you stick in the mud auntie, and I was 100% here for that. So I want to hear what your thoughts are about Pose Season 3, Episode 4, Take Me to Church. All right, guys, I'll holler at y'all for the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.